Video games have evolved significantly from the early days of the first versions of Nintendo and Atari. As technology improves, so do video games, which in turn comes increased complexity, and the cost of creating games today, especially major console releases, can have potential costs reaching into tens or even hundreds of millions. The video game sector can be described as larger than the movie and music industry combined, which was estimated to be worth $155 billion in 2020 and continues to grow. This can somehow explain why huge tech companies such as Google, Facebook, and Apple are currently trying to enter this huge revenue-generating industry with products such as Stadia and Apple Arcade. The Entertainment Retailers Association, ERA, has revealed that since the pandemic, sales are now at record levels, with an increase of nearly 15%, with a substantial amount of revenue mainly driven by digital downloads. This has also had an increasing effect on the number of creative staff employed at various video game studios, with 16,836 full-time staff being employed in the UK alone in 2020. Alternatively, self-employment as a games artist/developer in the form of indie game development is also a liable career path due to its increased freedom and creative control. While some of these projects obtain crowdfunding from sources such as Kickstarter, indie development normally involves little to no financial support, in which a small group of artists and developers produce and publish their game themselves. This also runs the risk of zero net income, as over 50% of indie games never make more than $4,000. As noted in the following statistics, the top market shares within the gaming industry is split mainly between the US, the UK, and Asia Pacific. This is reflected in the top cities to work for in game development, with Tokyo, London, San Francisco, and Montreal standing out as the top 4. Non-surprisingly, countries such as China, Japan, and South Korea show the highest potential in financial growth. This can be explained with multiple reasons, such as Number 1, China driving technologies such as 5G, which in turn pushes sales within the mobile-based VR gaming market. Number 2, Japan's handheld and home video game consoles generating huge revenue, with renowned magazine Famitsu reporting the sales of the Nintendo Switch, PS4 and 3DS consoles to be of 11.35 million and over. Number 3, South Korea's famous culture of online gaming combined with the amount of hardware and software developers and rising internet infrastructure estimates revenue to potentially reach the trillions in 2021. To understand the current state of the gaming industry, it's equally important to have a grasp of its current production pipeline. Of course, there will be variations between various studios and projects, but the process will be fairly similar between AAA, indie, or mobile games. Pre-production, the process of defining the what, why, and how a game will be made, as well as defining the financial and technological limitations that will be involved. Typically, the game design document, GDD, is created, acting as the game's North Star, which helps the development team understand the greater vision of the entire project. Production. With a typical timeline of 1 to 4 years, production is the longest stage of the pipeline and ultimately where the game is refined. This includes the story, characters, environments, rules of play, level design, gameplay mechanics, and written code. It is critical throughout this period to hit certain milestones within development, making sure a solid prototype evolves into a playable and optimized alpha and beta stages to effectively gain player feedback and have something publishers can start to promote. Post-production. After the game has been developed and shipped, the process continues with a smaller team concentrating on the game's maintenance, fixing bugs or creating patches, or creating bonus downloadable content for free or additional purchase. A potential debrief may be held to help discuss what could be improved, and all the final documents, assets, and code are filed and stored for future reuse. With the arrival of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, the industry is in for some major changes over the next 4 to 5 years. However, there are several other important trends currently affecting the industry. Number 1. Like society as a whole, the gaming industry is starting to pay attention to representation in their games, with developers starting to make women and other minorities more prominent in their game worlds. 2 great examples would be the diverse cast in The Last of Us Part 2, and wealth of gender options included in Cyberpunk 2077. Number 2. Bypassing all the annoying issues of download speeds and hardware limitation, cloud gaming streams games in real time, benefiting players and publishers as it allows the monetization of older titles years after their release. Number 3. Almost mimicking Hollywood, the gaming industry is realizing the potential revenue in remakes and reboots, making profit from nostalgia whilst avoiding the risk of uncertainty from a new franchise. Recent popular remakes include Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil 2, and Xenoblade Chronicles. Gaming industry requires such a wealth of experience in various fields for a project to reach fruition. This can range from art to programming, to marketing and project management, although within each of these areas are multiple specialist roles that are equally important and are responsible for individual aspects of a game's development. Game art. This group of artists are responsible for bringing colour, movement and creative life to the game. While some roles like the concept artist are mostly active during pre-production, most of the other artists are required throughout the entirety of production. 3D artists, for example, takes a concept artist's designs and builds them as required using various 3D software, whether that's props, environments, vehicles or characters. Game design. Often described as the creative driver of a game designer has knowledge within all fields of game development, including art, narrative and programming. They are responsible for developing the project storyline, players' goals, gameplay rules, and challenges that drive the interactivity of the game. For larger game studios, these are broken down into individual roles such as a level designer, who creatively shapes the game's maps in a way that keeps the player's attention focused whilst maintaining an enjoyable gameplay experience. Game programming. Programmers help to develop games by converting the design's concepts into code and ensure the game runs smoothly by identifying and fixing bugs. They are also responsible for building customized base engines and scripting functions, as well as the game's physics, AI, user interface, game mechanics, and online capabilities. It's safe to say that game programmers are the engineers responsible for physically constructing a game to life, which is why there are various specialist roles available. 3D environment artists are 3D modelers who specialize in creating indoor and outdoor settings for films or video games. Typically taking inspiration from 2D art created by a concept artist, they are responsible for the background environments which characters and objects will interact with. These include visuals such as buildings, roads, foliage and furniture. In video games specifically, they must also incorporate an additional layer of complexity, as they must function within the various gameplay mechanics that are set in place, such as the physics and player collision. To generate these environments, they utilize various software tools to design and sculpt the 3D backdrop players will interact with. They might also be responsible for texturing those 3D assets as well as setting up the lighting and scene layout. They work closely with the level designers and animators, ensuring each landscape fits within the framework as intended, whilst also considering technical limitations such as animation lag, technical glitches, and bugs. The role of an environment artist is highly competitive, with an average salary ranging from $49,000 to $96,000. This is also generally not an entry-level position, requiring usually a minimum of 2 years of industry experience. Whilst there are some junior positions available, most environment artists require years of 3D modelling, sculpture and design behind them. It's common knowledge that working as a prop artist is a good way to break into this field, as the workflows are fairly similar, albeit working with singular detailed assets. As well as obviously needing a keen eye for landscapes, cityscapes and geography, environment artists must also require the relevant technical skills to understand and balance assets and their resolutions within the limitations of their chosen game engine. As outlined via screen skills, most of the key professional and technical skills required to be an environment artist include: Number 1, familiarity with the game development pipeline, depending on your chosen field. Number 2, strong knowledge of geography, architecture and the laws of physics. Number 3, training and hands-on experience in 3D modelling and sculpting. Number 4, high-level drawing skills. Number 5, familiarity with 3D animation. Number 6, skilled in recreating photorealistic landscapes. Number 7, a solid understanding of visual language that includes texture, colour, dimension, scale, perspective, lighting and composition. Number 8, having good communication skills and the ability to work with creative and technical departments. Number 9, self-motivated and able to work under pressure and meet deadlines. Number 10, excellent technical know-how. And number 11, being receptive to constructive criticism and delivering changes as directed. Researching into many current job applications for environment artists, I decided to look into game studios of different sizes and locations to compare and deliberate which would be the better fit. Frontier Developments, a UK-based studio founded in 1994 with a current team base of over 700 employees. Frontier's application description for an environment artist seems both fitting and promising. However, with an average salary of £24,000, it does seem like a low-paid position of which employee feedback on Glassdoor can confirm. Although because they are a reputable AAA studio, gaining experience and notoriety at a studio like Frontier could be very beneficial for future applications. Compulsion Games, founded in 2009, Compulsion Games are a first-party game studio located in Montreal, Canada, and are a subsidiary of the famous Microsoft's Xbox Game Studios. They describe themselves as a boutique team of industry veterans who are built on trust, respect, and passion for video games. They are classed as a smaller studio with a total count of 40 employees and are mostly known for their unique and artistic titles such as their most recent release, We Happy Few. Looking at their job application, their requirements for a 3D environment artist seem a lot more open and collaborative, which gives me the impression that working for a smaller studio like Compulsion will involve more creative input and responsibilities compared to a larger AAA studio. Platinum Games. Founded in 2006, Platinum Games are an established games company with offices situated in Osaka and Tokyo, and an employee count of just under 300. Their company values are focused towards teamwork, sincerity, and inclusion, which goes to show why over 15% of their staff are from outside of Japan. Their job description of an environment artist includes more technical responsibilities, such as scripting languages, procedural applications, and tool development, which does sound a lot more daunting compared to other studios. However, with my passion about their previous titles and my dream of travelling to Japan, combined with their respectful company principles and amazing benefits such as healthcare, moving expenses, workshops and mentorships, working there does sound like a dream come true. I've always been passionate about video games ever since I got my first PlayStation when I was 7 years old. Though out of a lack of self-confidence, I felt like it wasn't even worth pursuing as a viable career option. Finally, after pushing myself to study visual effects, I learned a lot of the technical skills were very similar, boosting my confidence and reigniting my passion that I want to work within the gaming industry. After being introduced to the various modules within our first year of study, I did find that I gravitated towards asset creation and working in 3D, so that definitely helped to narrow down what specialty career paths I should look into. Having researched further, I found that progressing as a prop artist into 3D environments logically matched my current skills, as well as what I could pursue after much improvement. This became a no-brainer as my favourite aspects of a lot of my favourite games have been getting lost in their environments, and I'm increasingly blown away with how spectacularly detailed they are becoming. My goal is to one day hopefully be involved in creating environments either in a realistic or stylised format, contributing towards something picturesque and beautiful that allows therapeutic escape from the stresses of everyday life. Amongst the amount of research and industry insights I have uncovered, it became apparent that there is no single method on how to break into the gaming industry. Ultimately, I found that to be successful you need a strong portfolio, industry experience, and a presence within the gaming community. With this in mind, I dissected my current situation and what requirements and milestones I need to reach in order to increase my chances in acquiring a job as an environment artist within the industry. I broke this down into 3 components: my industry path, my portfolio plan, and current priorities. Understanding that this will be an ongoing strategy, I felt it important that I map out a rough timeline for my intended progression over the next 4 years. Year 1. Currently I need to focus on graduating whilst researching into potential top-up years within game art. I also need to begin long-term development of game art skills including 3D modelling, texturing, lighting, composition, art fundamentals and game engines. Year 2. Next year I need to ensure that I progress with personal projects and have at least 2 high-quality portfolio pieces ready. Additionally, I should be successfully enrolled in a games art related course for my 3rd year, whilst maintaining my social and professional connections at Confetti. Year 3. In 2023, I should be researching and participating in industry-related events and opportunities, including game jams, internships, and industry events, which should all help ensure a 3D artist job role for when I graduate. Year 4. If this proves successful, for the following year I should be aiming to continually develop my soft and hard skills within my artistic field, as well as building my relationship within the industry. However, if by 2024 I am unsuccessful, I intend to remain optimistic and improve my portfolio whilst networking for industry connections and employment opportunities, with my goal to have a job within the games industry within 1 year after graduation.